Welcome to the Roar Mindset, Leading Through Chaos. I'm Peter Brandenburger, and I help leaders embrace chaos to turn disruption into an advantage. Each episode brings stories and strategies to help you stop fighting disruption, lead with clarity, and thrive in uncertain times. Today, I'm joined by Jayadevi Matt, Engineering Director in Intel Silicon and Platform Engineering Group, where she leads global engineering teams focused on delivering critical platform technologies. Over a 25-year career spanning Motorola and Intel, Jaya has led products, programs, global teams, and customer engagements across the semiconductor industry. Beyond her technical leadership, Jaya is passionate about developing others. She serves as the global region ambassador for the Women at Intel network. She leads mentoring and leadership programs and is also a certified coach. What struck me most in the conversation is Jaya's mindset towards uncertainty. Over the past year, she has navigated organizational change, role transitions, family milestone, and personal challenges, and yet she continues to lead with optimism, gratitude, and a focus on possibility. In our discussion, we explore what it means to influence without authority, how leaders can create clarity during periods of constant change, and why empowerment requires both accountability and trust. Jaya shares lessons from leading global teams through multiple reorgs, helping engineers expand their capabilities, and creating momentum when resources are constrained and expectations continue to grow. Stay with us through the end, and I'll share a few reflections and practical ideas you can apply in your own leadership. Enjoy. Welcome, Jaya. Thank you for joining on the podcast.
Thank you, Peter. My pleasure.
Let's start off with what matters most to you these days as a way of helping people know a little bit about who you are and what matters to you these days.
I just wanted to start with a fun fact. And the reason for that is it's all in the name. Okay. So my name is, if you see, Jayadevi Matt, basically too long a name, but this is derived from Sanskrit. Jaya means victory and Devi is goddess. Okay. So it is literally goddess of victory, meaning like a positive attitude and also the one who brings win-win at the end of the day in whatever she gets into. And the second thing is the middle name is just a place name, my grandparents' place name. And the third, basically the word in my surname rather is Mat. This is basically means in Sanskrit an institution which promotes education and also the society well-being, right? So what it means is that it is also kind of in the DNA, so that giving back, working for the community and also seeing everything as how can I help or take along others, right? So basically looking at others' perspective, not just going in one way. When I started, I think after a long time, I'm doing a self-reflection. So how do I start? Where do I start? And what matters most to me, right? I just started thinking earlier today, and then one thing which struck me is that it's in your name. Okay. So I think the credit goes to my parents for my name and then also the basically like the upbringing in that context, watering a plant, giving water to your pets, or could be any small thing. So that with that mindset, I think it's always being positive and optimistic. Reflecting back on 2025 and also the current scenario. I mean, actually, last week we were in kind of a lockdown, and in fact, we were asked to work from home, changing roles and going through the reorgs. 2025 has been quote unquote roller coaster for two reasons. I think it was at the upside because my older one got graduated and in fact this is already into a job, and he's building rocket engines. Okay, so is an happy aerospace engineer. And it was November, we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. And while that was on the upside and everything, I mean, even my younger one is also doing well. And my pet, to be precise, I'm a three boys mom, two boys and one pet dog. But my husband had this health risk, and seeing him in pain and seeing a lot of things changing around me. I think two things which comes to my mind at this point in time. First one is gratitude. Irrespective whatever situation you are in, you will still sail through. Okay, meaning I won't say this too shall pass. You just enjoy that journey. You put your 100% to navigate that, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. Take the learning wherever possible, and then still cherish those moments. Okay, everything happens for a reason. So, what happened earlier, what is happening now, what is going to happen, everything is for the better. And you
Yeah.
just have to, yeah, just have to keep going and yeah, move along. So
In the last, whatever, 12 to 18 months.
I would say probably 6 to 8 months, because everything, most of it is in the second half of 2025.
My son's also an aerospace engineer, so
Mm.
it's a proud parent. It's a scare of a loved one, in this case, your husband, and then dealing with all the changes and disruptions at work. But I'm still sensing positivity that you talked about. Like that. That's a great way to move through these.
This is exactly what I keep influencing, not just reminding myself, also my circle of influence. I keep emphasizing that, right? And the second thing
Hmm.
is, while the gratitude part is all about this sailing through the journey, the second thing is definitely on the well-being. I don't think we gave so much importance to health, or overall well-being, right? So it's your mind, body, and soul as well. And yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, these life events can remind you of what's precious or what's valuable to you,
I agree.
what fills you
Don't,
up, or
yeah, don't take anything for granted, right? You just have to
Mhm.
keep invested in it.
Thank you for sharing that. Um, I love the name piece. I love the goddess for you, by the way. I think you have such power. And I know the work that you do in the communities, helping women and being a big leader in that space. Yeah, that's a great part of what you've done in that living into your name of goddess.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
I mean, I just use that as a fun fact. Okay, so it's not literally everything falls
Oh
in,
no,
but it has its
it
part.
on this podcast, I talk a lot about disruption and uncertainty and how leaders are navigating through it. And maybe can you share, a story about how you've led through disruption?
Yeah, sure. So let me probably make a two-phased response here. So first one is where first job was with this big mobile company. So and Intel is my second company. Okay, so the first one also when I think it's probably 10 or 11 plus years. So everything was good, right? Fresh out of college, I joined and then learned coding on the job, and basically like graduated from an RCG to an engineering senior engineering manager, led programs, led products, and also led teams. And when this recession happened in 2010, I had a no option to stay back, letting my team go and be an IC and things like that, but which I didn't accept. Instead, I was along with my team, a lot of others, basically, standing in a queue, handing over our badge and ID card and things like that. I never had this, even for a moment, what will I do tomorrow? Okay, because what was on my mind is, by the way, severance package was good, and what was on my mind was my kids were too young. I thought it is
Mhm.
probably a great opportunity for me to spend some time with them. Okay. And that was on
Mm,
my mind. And here we go, kind of a joy moment or a sad moment. It was in between, mixed reactions. And I was still looking for the positive. What will I get? What next? Kind of a things. Right.
mm,
And within, I think, probably 6 months or so, and my kids are, by the way, very, very practical. Okay. So they thought she may or may not be a permanent person in case whether to feed them or to take care of them, right? In that context. So I started feeling bored in a sense. I think I had two offers. But what I decided was to be an IC, manage programs and product versus be an engineering manager. listening to a lot of people's when a CPM happens or a layoff happens, right? You have a different story with each individual who is going through that. Even you might be receiving the letter, but at the same time, when you are handing it over, the stories and the connection what you make is very different, right?
It's from
Yeah,
it's from
in
stars from laying off the people, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
the people you care about on your team.
Definitely. And most of the times I'm clear on what not to do, even if the path or what I want to do is not clear. I'm 100% clear on what not to do. Within, I think, 6 months, Intel acquired Infineon. And one good thing they hired me was mainly because until then it was a slim modem company and they wanted to make a full phone, that is putting an AP on it and then making these Android phones. It was first time driven out of Bangalore. And with all these earlier experiences, they thought I'm the right person to drive it from here in Bangalore. Power ons and team buildings and whatnot. It's too much travel to Europe and also to other Asian countries, considering it was a German company initially. I would say
Mhm.
until 2019 that continued. Okay, so I was managing, driving these in a matrix environment, the products being responsible for hardware, software, schedule, budget, everything. Okay, today. So
Yeah, before we go on to the 5G and Apple, when you left and you wanted to become an IC, is it safe to assume that because you didn't want to have to go through the firing piece, or wh- what was your motivation back then for an IC?
I was working like crazy, 16, 18 hours. And I remember in the previous company, so with
Yeah.
my 1 year olds, 3 year olds, and yeah. So I just wanted it. It was a personal choice to be precise, Peter.
Yeah, and in looking back, any lessons from that time of moving from, managing people to an IC for several years?
So it is basically influence without the chair power. Okay. So I think
Mhm.
it is just amazing the kind of an influence to get things done because people are not directly reporting to you, right? Everyone is dotted line. And
Mhm.
if I have to share an example without quoting the name, so very senior person who was working in Germany, and this person had to visit his wife in London every weekend, and we could never get what is that right there, right? Not being available on Friday, not being available on Monday because of the time differences and all that. But that was basically the kind of a, I think, quote unquote friction. And when we had this, basically, I think it's a map day or so. When we came here, the entire thing kind of drifted apart, basically. And also when he met here and then kind of gave his 100% on what I'm trying to say, why I'm driving the way I'm trying to drive things, it kind of changed. And then, yeah, we are still in touch. So all good. But those things happen, right, in that context. So one major thing is the impact or the influence you can bring to the table.
Well, for leaders who are wondering how do you influence people that you don't have direct authority over, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So two aspects, right? First aspect is you put the data on the table and put your perspective, why you think what you're asking or you want that person to do makes sense, right? So why, again, with the limited data or whatever data available at that point in time. And the second thing is, if you are the D, then I think you go just direct it. If you are probably one of the stakeholders, then you say, here is my perspective, here is my point of view. Decision is still that person's, but you have put your basically view already there. So in either cases, everything is driven, data driven, and that cannot or probably will never go wrong. So I would say that's the right way,
Yeah.
right way. It has worked with my kids. It has worked with my stakeholders all along, 25 plus years of, yeah. So basically career in the industry.
How about the emotional aspect of influencing? I mean, if the data is more of the technical information, how about when there's emotions involved in these decisions, like with maybe laying off people? I mean, definitely with the kids, I'm sure
So,
you've had that experience as well.
yeah. So as I said, right, who's the D? So that is what matters. In case if you are in the, irrespective of you being in the matrix organization or your direct management line. So if you are the D, you are saying why I'm making this decision and why we all need to acknowledge and then move forward. At the end of the day, emotions, both you as the D and the other person who is in the receiving side. Yes, there are loads of emotions, all right, but at the same time, based on how much trust that person has on you, it need not be one on one, it might be many to one, because when you are really putting your proposal, so if it is data driven, I think there are 99% chances that that gets accepted, and without any ambiguity. You might have a heated discussion or some questions and some yeah, so debates there, but at the end of the day, you walk as one, I mean, walk out of the room with one voice. And when it comes to the second thing wherein you're just given your data and the other person is to drive, if that person doesn't really understand your point of time or your emotions, what you're trying to say, then probably that calls for a another negotiation, quote unquote negotiation. If you believe what you're trying to say is 100%
You also brought up trust. I think when there's trust within that relationship, that really can go help um, have confidence that what that your data you're providing can also uh, be met with somebody who can understand that, acknowledge, and do the best thing. I mean, is that kind of what you're getting at with trust?
Absolutely. The reason why I'm taking two scenarios is, first one, even if it is a dotted line and matrix organization, you are still the D. Okay. So meaning like it's your
Yeah.
decision. That is the way you want to go drive. You are just explaining why we are going. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is not an individual success, right? We need that collective impact. So you are trying to drive that way. Second thing is, you are one of the stakeholders. You're putting your point there and you have a very strong point. If that is not taken or understood, you still have to go ensure that the person understands before any other decision is made. And you might end up winning there as well, meaning like if your point is definitely on spot, and then if it is the right thing to do.
How about when you've been through some of these reorganizations or changes to the organization and your role? Can you share some of those examples and how did you lead through those?
This is basically in 2018 and 19 time frame. I took over leading the entire customer engineering team for wireless in that context. And what it meant is being the manager and leading my peers as well, right? So we were all a team, and then I just got elevated, and then I had to manage across 5 geos. Yeah. And quite a few of them were my peers. And in fact, some of them I knew from my earlier company. Uh, I don't think I really had that quote unquote struggle time. Every time I put my points down, I need everyone to accept and understand first, and then accept. And am I trying to do something which is good for the good for the org? So I think not even a month or so, I started doing all these monthly meetings with each site, and then working very closely during my one-on-one, also trying to understand, is there any gap in accepting me as the leader, right? And I think it was probably 5 to 6 years until last year. We just went through, I mean, creating multiple products in that role.
I'm curious when you talked about closing any gap or identifying any gap with your peers who now you're managing. Um, yeah, I guess what other techniques do you use just to help ease that transition and to build their confidence in your ability to manage as opposed to being a peer?
I would say LRA. Okay, so I think people also have given me feedback, and it comes out most of the manager development feedback, right? It's loud and clear. I'm a good listener, and I never impose my point. Even if I put my point across, I listen to the other person, what that person thinks. And every conversation, even now, right, I'm a second level manager, but whenever I speak to the engineers also, irrespective of the grade, and just understanding what is on their mind, right? I generally don't go impose directly. I get that feedback, right? So
For those who are not familiar with LRA, it's listen, reflect, and ask, and it's a technique. Actually, I covered it in a couple of podcasts ago with Lynette, and it's great to hear that. I mean, I think the listening aspect and really caring about other perspective, and I'd even call out that even when you have a perspective or a thought or maybe even a strong feeling, you said you would communicate that, but still listen from their perspective.
So what happens is that it is basically influence or get influence. That's what is the outcome, right? If you have two perspectives, one of it is probably is good for the org and good for the company. There is a healthy debate. I encourage that open communication, and then putting everybody should be able to put their thoughts and proposals forward. In that, it comes out loud and clear. Yes, they agree. What I said was probably the best option. Maybe there were some queries and some uh, concerns, and which I might have answered them. So either we go with that. If somebody else had a very good thought, okay, maybe I might have missed that perspective. I just acknowledge, okay. So and then we just move along. So quote unquote, it is influence or get influence, and then walk out with one voice.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. What else have you learned from these organizational changes?
I was looking for a change. Okay. And even I was thinking, should I be an IC? I'm always open for taking risks and then doing at the end of the day what Intel needs, right? So I'm looking for a win-win in that context. Then I think uh, senior management thought that when they were transitioning most of this work for basically to India, and then they were looking for a leader who would drive this. I'm glad they thought I'm the right person. Okay, so and then here I am, basically driving this team to do more with less. Okay. And also considering the fact that the way this team worked earlier was very different. And initially, yes, I think they were kind of, and the scope has broadened, right? It is like basically we are covering almost entire client. We are delivering a baseline to other basically stakeholders. I would say two or three other organizations in that context. Yeah, so verticals basically. With that, doing more with less, broadening the scope and bringing that growth mindset at every level. Okay. If an engineer is a system debugger and trying to work on one domain, enabling him, empowering him to understand what is expected out of him or her, and then where he has to go to really reach and deliver what collectively, right? Again, what charter and roadmap, what we have to deliver. So that took some time. I think everyone may not have that experience, right? I mean, considering I've been into architecture, I've been into requirements, I've delivered product systems, everything end to end. Doing more with less kind of a thing. Can we even do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Each of these needs 14 people, 20 people. Where do we have those? And and also at the same time, these reorgs were happening, right? So what I had to do was bring clarity in this chaos. What is that clarity?
Yeah.
The charter expected from us is not going to change. Okay, what each one of us need to do is not going to change. Yes, I think the org names might change, and probably the management also changed in that context. But what we have to deliver to our customers at the end of the day is not going to change. We started looking at how do we improvise on what the team did probably last year, and what is that we need to do to cater to everything what is on our plate. A strategy team to cover entire client roadmap, wherein earlier they were doing probably a couple of them, and also to extend and enable the ecosystem. When I mean ecosystem, you have your vertical partner stakeholders within Intel, and also you have your external stakeholders like OSV and others, right? In that context, giving this bigger picture, ensuring that each one is enabled to understand that end-to-end line of his dependency, of his influence. So that is kind of helped bring that trust, that motivation to keep going. Okay. So
Uh,
yeah, I continue to do these open forums with my team, and everyone is encouraged to stand up and raise their voice or ask questions, queries, and don't hesitate to bring their doubts to that forum. Okay.
Sounds like you brought a very strong sense of empowerment. And what I mean by that is to the individuals to empower them to do what is needed, where you're headed as an organization, that clarity you talked about, and then empowering them to do what they need to do. I get the sense that you've been reinforcing that. In other words, it's not a single time you go, hey, you have the power to do this, like go do it. But you kind of continually do it through individual contact, also your site and group kind of conversations and messaging. Is that a fair summary there?
I would say so. I mean, just take an example, right? If you say shift left doesn't mean anything to one person, right? When we are looking at individual functions, if everyone is doing a shift left, each one needs to understand what is that bigger picture, where am I playing my part, empowering at the same time that accountability. You can call them empower, but at the end of the day, they are the ones who needs to really plan it out and execute whatever is whatever they are expected to deliver, right? And they can do more at the same time, because that is kind of comes as an implicit requirement. We have constraints on resources and budget as well.
Right. Shift that you led, kind of empowering, doing things differently and moving. I mean, some of this was the business that had to be done, but the other is how you as a leader approached it.
I would say,
Is that
yeah,
fair?
that's a fair statement. And the reason is, yes, it's all driven out of Bangalore. I mean, the way at least earlier the team was driving things, we had to bring that shift, right? That growth mindset and
Uh-huh.
also that overall bigger picture, and ensuring that each individual understands where he or she is playing their part. I think it took 1 to 2 quarters, but it's all good now. It's all seamless happening. I
Well,
think
I
they're
mean, first of all,
asking for more.
I mean, two things are amazing. One to 2 quarters is very quick to do a change like that. So congratulations on that. And then if they're asking for more, I was just going to ask, with the pressure to always do more with less, from a business perspective, it's always there. That can turn into just making people work um, more as opposed to smarter or better. And I get the sense that you're actually moving the organization to more, smarter, better, as opposed to just do more hours.
Oh, that yeah, that's what I meant. Definitely not an ours. Instead, how can we improve? I mean, it's a AI age, right? So in that context, on your productivity, what can you automate? What can you probably do? And you take up more and more on what needs to be done, which is still a POC or still in the pipeline, right? You need to prepare yourself for the next big thing. So that's where we are heading.
Yeah. I mean, and what I get is there's a sense of you're not just asking them to do more with less by doing it the same way. You're asking them to shift and empowering them and holding them accountable to shift and do it in a way that makes sense. As opposed to leaders who have done this, which is, hey, do twice as much with the same resources and just do it the same way. I mean, to me, that's a recipe for disaster because you can't do it the same way. You have to do some tweaking, evolving, optimization in order to approach things differently. I'm curious about how did you bring in that kind of shift?
Go back to the drawing board. Okay. So break it up. I mean, you have this one big thing. You have to break it into 4 or 5 verticals or the domains or swim lanes in that context. So go double click, drill down, and then get to the root. And then what are those things, what we need to do? Prioritize again, right? What needs to be done now, urgent, and which needs to be done immediately for you to get probably 50% of the benefit, right? And that if that gets done, you're covered. I just went through building this team, building that mindset, and then people, a new team accepting me as their leader. Everything happened so quickly within, I would say, 2 to 3 quarters. November is actually when I joined this team. So by second half, June, July onwards, I think we started delivering and bringing this impact what management was expecting. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the breakdown. Just deconstructing it or bringing it back to some of the core elements, which kind of gets rid of maybe some of the fluff. And then having that healthy debate. For you, it may be so simple that you would overlook it. But for leaders, it's very important to have a healthy debate. And a debate, and like you said, staying curious to it so that you build together the best solution. So the intention isn't to win my argument. The intention is to seek the best answer.
Absolutely. I would say be clear, right? Even in the chaotic scenario, be clear in your communication, because in this current scenario, people are not looking for any major insights, or all they're looking for is basically someone who is ready to listen. I mean, ready to listen to them, listen to their concern, and then give that assurance. Okay, it's not that I know it all, and we are here together. Okay, so, and at the end of the day, if there is any change, they will be the first ones to know, right? And we will still sail through that. That is the message what they're looking for, and maybe that is what is kind of keeping us together. So I keep asking my team, right? Do you have any questions? These changes are continuous, right? We are going through many more off late, so
Yeah.
in spite of all of that, the momentum is still on, and Touchwood, so our team is still excited to deliver and then see that impact.
Yeah. What I'm hearing, the trust within the team is great, but also open. What does clear communication mean to you? What are the components of clear communication?
So even if there are changes, what is changing? What is that impact or change for us? Okay. So does
Hmm.
it really matter if you basically be part of this org versus the other org? And if there is a change in the name of our org, how does it even impact us? Okay. So that is the first aspect
Mm.
of it. And second thing is clear in what is that you need to deliver, and all these factors, how does it impact you? Especially when a lot of CPM happened, the lot of attrition happened, okay, in my team. So one is at CPM, we are letting people go. At the same time, there are attritions because of various reasons. We have a couple of other competitors pulling people left and right. All that trust, everything is still good. There are other variables probably which are out of control. And how do you really take the team uh, sticking together and then same momentum for delivering what you have to deliver, right? And on top of it, I keep re-emphasizing that this is an much more scope what I have committed on behalf of the team, and then that is kind of challenging. But in this challenging scenario, also bringing that clarity, if the fact that you have stayed here, you are expected to deliver, and if there are any ambiguity, any concerns, come speak to me and let's discuss, debate. If I know the answers, I'll tell you. Otherwise, I'll probably raise it to the respective or a concerned person. Right?
You're sensing what they might need and support them, whether that's your conversations, open debate, or pulling in people.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Oh, great. What's next for you? What's ahead?
What is ahead? Continue to keep my team motivated because we have too much on our plate. Okay. So, and a lot of stakeholders are dependent on us. So, continue to drive that. Apart from that, as you know, there are multiple ERGs, employee resource groups at Intel, but primarily the win is the biggest one. And the second thing, again, my passion for nature, greenery, and all that, right? So it was this volunteering was mainly planting saplings. I said yes to every time they had this volunteering option in my earlier org, and even at Intel also I've joined some of them, but Intel Win took most of my time.
The win is the Women Intel
I
Network.
was mainly contributing in the mentoring and leadership scope for Intel India. Okay, and then came an opportunity. This is, I would say, 4 years ago. And by the way, my sister, younger sister, is a DI champion. So we do discuss a lot on the DI at home as well.
Mhm.
So she was leading for IBM, DI efforts for IBM, and also she she was the country head for one of the Hong Kong-based company here in India, which is primarily focused on DI. They do research. They pioneer all of these assets, data-driven, right? And in fact, they were conducting some of these corporate events, basically. When I went to one of the celebrations where she was presenting, Intel was one of the sponsors, and I think Intel had won some awards as well. You are Vijaya's sister. I said yes, and then I didn't go representing Intel, right? I went based on my sister's invitation. And then when we the Intel India Win team met me, and they said, I think you probably can be part of it. It started that way. And while I was contributing to Intel India, this opportunity came, and I to be part of the board, Win cross-site board. And I had an option to choose GAR versus the other regions. But I chose GAR for two reasons. One is me being a GAR woman. And the second thing is my experience of having, led multiple global teams, right? So the way at least the rest of the geos uh, Win team needs versus the GAR team needs were very different. That I could sense it. So I thought it makes more sense for me to really lead GAR. And also as part of the Senior Women Council, that is SWC, again under WIN, basically. And this is again a mentor circle, right? And then you get 12 to 14 mentees, and then you're just based on the topics, you just take each topic and then take them through that. So it's all going well. I just want to continue and help build next level leaders, right? Next generation leaders. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was smiling when you said just continue. I think you're not giving it the credit because, while you are still leading this whole thing at Intel, also you're parenting kids and being in the family and all that stuff. You're also spending a lot of time to help other women. It means you're helping and mentoring them. It's not you're being mentored, as much, although we always get quite a bit out of mentoring and coaching other people. And plus, I'm almost certain that you're going to continue to evolve it and listen and hear what the different regions need or what specific needs, and even what you're talking about, senior leadership versus technical leadership. There's some subtle differences in there that you've helped to identify and put plans in place.
Yeah, this is definitely one thing which I definitely enjoy, and that reminds me of a quote. Giving is definitely not a subtraction. Instead, it is a multiplier, right? So in that context, so March we celebrate Women's Month, right? So the theme is give to gain. Very apt, and there's a lot of learning. Bring the environment in such a way that that person feels that and then have the trust that they're able to open up, they're able to share what they're looking for, right?
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Yeah, what a great achievement you've had in that space. And I know your passion is there, so I'm sure you're going to be continue to do some great stuff in that space.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm also a certified coach. I did this thanks to one of my coaches. I think I was part of these Intel's women leadership program, and it was a mandate to choose one coach. Okay, so I never expected that I'll go through this journey. It was great experience with him. Okay, so thanks to my coach. And and at one point in time I said, like, I really want to take it seriously, do all of that certification, your PCC and couple of others, right? So
Yeah.
and he said, start with the sport coaching. I completed that, and now I'm a certified sport coach. So
Well, there's so much giving that you've been doing, and yeah, it's the give to gain. I love that perspective.
yes.
As we wrap up, I have a couple of final questions. I guess one of them is, what is the one leadership lesson you continue to learn over and over again?
Leadership lesson. Okay, so definitely what comes to my mind at this point in time is never stop learning. With so much changing, so much uncertainty, you just have to keep yourself updated. And while you are learning, be that situational or adaptive leader, because you're learning, you're keeping yourself upgraded, and you're flexible enough to adjust your leadership style. The rest of the team is looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. The other question is what one lesson do you think you've learned by being in India for a US company about leadership?
Okay, so nothing is impossible. Maybe I'll quote the Intel brand. So the programs and the products what I drove in my earlier company sitting in India, these were, be it any of those telco certifications. Actually, the company was struggling to get into Docomo for 3 consecutive times. The fourth time, everything put together, and then in fact, I had this translation team because we had to get into Docomo and then translate everything to Japan, and we succeeded. Sitting in India, we had that first smartphone, which is basically in collaboration with Kodak, a 2 megapixel camera phone.
Mhm.
Okay, everything working closely with the entire world, wherever that company had basically to deliver for this product. And similarly, during my other, I mean, journey within Intel also. So to name one of them, this major car OEM, right? Intel modem was in the TCU. They trusted me to lead that, and those again were the golden moments. Okay, and also what it led to is the CEO of that car OEM making a call to Intel CEO saying that these guys bailed us. Okay, so that was an accomplishment or an achievement which is remarkable, and thanks to the team, thanks to the collective impact. But coming back, what it means is that it's nothing is impossible, right? You have that belief, the confidence that you can drive. First of all, you need to be aware, you need to be self-confident, right?
Mhm.
And once it happens, everything else will fall in place, or you will make sure that that falls in place.
Okay, and the final one is what is the one word that describes your leadership mindset right now?
Ah, I would say conscious and at the same time very curious. Okay, so conscious because everything what we do, I really think through. Okay, so the bigger picture, the part we play, part everybody else in the rest of the stakeholders need to play in that context. It's just I'm very conscious of everything what I do, and at the same time curious because there are things which is outside my control, and that may come as a surprise.
Mm.
So curious on what is in store for us, and then how do we deal with those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for the conversation today. It was great talking to you, and I'm so glad you opened up with your name. That was wonderful. Thank you again for all the women I know you've helped and all the leaders or all the people you've led.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks for listening to Roar Mindset, Leading Through Chaos. Disruption isn't going away, but you can embrace it and turn it into an advantage. Until next time, stop fighting disruption, lead with clarity, and thrive in uncertain times.